Team Lagerfeld here, back with another video reaction. And today we're going to do another Nick Crowley video. This one is The Darkest Moments in TV History 4. The first three, absolutely devastating, terrifying, creepy, sad, just all the emotions. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get to number 4 and see what stories they have for us this time. Let's go ahead.
Trying to work an opening, but Singleton brings it away for Bradford. There's only Ellis with him at the moment, though, and he's played it straight.
Viewer discretion advised. The Bradford City incident.
Saturday, May 11th, 1985. A soccer match is underway in Bradford, West Yorkshire, England, between the visiting team Lincoln City and the home team Bradford City, a group riding the high of having just won their divisional championship in the week prior. This was the season finale for the club, one last match for the team and the fans to cap off what was otherwise a historic run. However, it wasn't just the season that this game would mark the end of. At the time, Bradford City played their matches at a site called Valley Parade Stadium, with the facilities growing a reputation around the league as being incredibly outdated, and to many, downright neglected. The awnings that stretched over the fans were made of old rotted wood, while underneath the stands were heaps of old trash that would pile up all throughout the season.
Sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
The whole place was a mess, and the city knew it too, which eventually led to their decision to just rebuild the stadium completely, with plans being set to tear the whole thing down soon after the game would end. But as it turns out, fate wasn't willing to wait quite that long. Within the stands, a spectator was watching on, enjoying a cigarette, taking one last drag before flicking it out of his hands. I still locked intently on the game, failing to notice that the cigarette butt had slipped through the floorboards of the bleacher and landed on the ground below. This almost immediately caused a small fire to break out, which was noted by the commentator John Helm.
We've actually got a fire in the stand on the far side of the ground.
I thought the place was gonna like collapse or something. Oh crap!
Despite the cigarette only being dropped a minute or so before, the fire was already visible from the stands, as within that old stadium was the perfect
picking up steam like
a disaster. When that cigarette fell to the ground, it didn't just land on the grass, because the grass was likely not even visible at that point, and was buried under mounds and mounds of garbage. Garbage that acted as the perfect kindling for the blaze.
Yeah, all that plastic.
That wasn't all. Remember, one of the main sticking points of the rebuild was the fact that the awnings that reached above the fans were made entirely of that old wood, meaning that you had heaps of kindling, tons of wood, and now a spark, with the final fatal factor being that it was a windy day. It was the perfect storm. The results.
That was perfect weather for all of this to happen.
Devastating.
A perfect situation for it. 1 minute later, jeez. 2 minutes. Damn.
The black ball of smoke is rising hundreds of feet in the air.
Yeah, I know not everybody survived that. It couldn't have been.
It took approximately 3 minutes for that small fire to engulf the entirety of the stands, as the black smoke billowed into the sky, and the crowd desperately rushed to the field to get away from the heat.
And the whole place is scorching. They've been talking about having a new ground at Valley Parade. They might soon have to have one, because this is the day that Valley Parade football...
Okay, I don't know why they're cheering. Can we focus on getting out?
It's burning down.
The footage is highly disturbing, so much so that I can't show the entire thing. But during this time, however, a radio broadcast was on air, with the audio giving us a good idea of just how chaotic the scene was, and the moments when the blaze really erupted.
We're on fire here at Valley Parade. The whole end of the stand at one side is actually in flames now. I can see the orange of the flames. The game is actually stopped here at Valley Parade, and people are running around. They're running around beside us. They're running around all around us, and people are saying, get onto that pitch.
The whole stand is on fire, Tony. It's an absolute, and it's spreading quickly. There's going to be problems, Tony.
Let's get all those people out of there. Let's get those people. Just take your time. Don't rush. Don't push. Wait for the kiddies. People are coming round this. You can hear
people don't care.
The smoke coming
they're just trying to get out of there.
We are going to have to disconnect very shortly, because it really is flaming all the time. We're taking a break.
They don't care if you're old, young, woman, man.
In the stands that
people
day,
are just trying to survive.
6,000 people, and based on the footage, many of whom were
They are
able
not
to
going to be
escape
organized
quickly,
at all.
which gave a sense of hope that the ordeal might end in minimal casualties. Though there was another side of things. Those who chose not to run towards the field opted to go the opposite way, as there was an entrance and exit located directly behind the stands where the fire had started. And when the crowd
I would
managed to
rather
make
go
their
to
way
the
to this
field.
exit, they were met with a disturbing revelation. The gates were shut. And those that were
Are you
open
serious?
or busted open were also blocked by slow-moving turnstiles, some of which being
You-
locked themselves.
You better
As the
hop
crowd
it.
began pushing more and more to get through these turnstiles, it in
Hop
turn
it.
led to a crush of humanity, with everyone piling on top of one another
Of course.
as the fire slowly consumed them.
Oh. Why did they not just hop the
The
turnstile?
smoke cleared and the
It's
bodies
not-
were counted. 56 had tragically lost their lives, while another
Wow.
265 were left with serious injuries, with the tragedy leading to numerous new safety standards for soccer stadiums across the country, as Valley Parade's notoriously bad reputation had finally caught up with it on its very last day of operation, marking one of the deadliest days in the world of soccer, and one of the darkest moments
In TV history.
in television history.
Bodies are being dragged away from that stand.
That recorded the man's actions as he was taping a special program.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Hey kids and parents, get two parents. You remember when? Well, it's back again.
The world of television is no stranger to death-defying stunts. From the very beginning of broadcasting, viewers have been captivated by the sight of people risking their lives to pull off these seemingly impossible spectacles. But while most of these performances are done by trained professionals, perhaps one of the strangest television stunts ever performed was one done by a man with hardly any training at all.
Oh, great.
Adelier Antonio de Carli.
Great.
Born in Pelotas, Brazil, Adelier
I'm
felt
sure
the
this is
calling
gonna
in
end
his
well.
life to
I'm sure
dedicate
it will.
himself to God. This eventually led to him becoming a Catholic priest, where he developed a deep connection with those in his community. To many, Adelier was considered a man of the people, someone who had a passion for religion and a goal to make it accessible to as many people as possible, which is where he developed the idea for his most infamous project. Near his home in Brazil was a popular port city named Paranagua, which saw the import and export of a vast array of goods, making it a central hub for truckers to drive to and from on a regular basis. But Adelier began to realize that for these truckers, the vast majority of their lives were lived on the road, and this rarely, if ever, allowed them to practice their religion. This revelation inspired Adelier to start putting together plans to build a chapel at a trucker's rest stop right in Paranagua, which would allow for drivers to stop and worship while on the road. In theory, this seemed like a great idea, and one that the community could easily rally behind, though there was just one issue: the money. Building a chapel and maintaining it was not going to be cheap, and far exceeded what was possible with just his salary, making the whole thing seem like more of a dream than anything, unless he could somehow find a way to raise the funds, which is when he had the idea. He was going to create a public spectacle.
He could have
One where he would
taped
attach
his
himself to hundreds of
sermons and
helium-filled balloons,
maybe sold
take
those
off
so they
into
can
the
listen to
sky
it on the
in a
road.
process known as balloon clustering.
People do that.
Believe it or not, this was actually a somewhat well-known stunt at the time, as popularized by a man named John Ninomia, whose footage was shown on numerous television stations a few years prior in 2006. And perhaps having been inspired by this, Adelier viewed the stunt as the perfect opportunity to fund his chapel, with his plan being to break the world record of 19 hours in the air, and in doing so, use the publicity to gather donations.
With just
But the only
balloons?
problem was, he had no experience whatsoever. He had gone skydiving numerous times before, though, and he believed that his familiarity with that would help him to break the record in no time. And so, on January 13th, 2008, in the city of Umpere, Brazil, over 600 balloons were filled with helium and attached to a chair, which Adelier was then strapped to. He began to lift off the ground, quickly floating high in the sky, as the news cameras were there to film it
So
all.
balloons, a chair, and a
The flight saw
prayer,
him travel roughly
and that's all
17
you
miles
have?
and reach an altitude of 17,000 feet, highlighting just how dangerous of a stunt this really was. But despite his lack of experience, after around 4 hours, he would touch down safely in Argentina, marking the end of his first successful flight.
Okay, but I'm sure it's not the
It was a
last one,
promising
right?
start and inspired Adelier to continue planning and prepping for his next attempt, which he resoundingly told people would break the world record. In preparation
Can
for
you
doing
even
so, he
breathe
took
that
part in
high?
various
17,000 feet?
training exercises, and even took up mountain climbing.
I'm sure
as he
the
knew
air
he
is
would be
thin up
flying over
there.
remote regions, which left him at risk of being stranded somewhere in the wilderness. To further aid in this, Adelier would also have a satellite phone and a GPS, which he would use in tandem to help track his location and call for assistance should things go awry. It seemed that Adelier was ready for anything. But on April 20th, 2008, as a crowd gathered around to see this man attempt this record, the weather began to take a turn for the worst. During his first flight, the skies were
Red
sunny
flag
and the
number
winds were
one.
calm, but on this day it was gloomy and the rain was falling hard,
Don't
off
do
and on,
it.
putting the whole stunt in jeopardy. But Adelier remained confident, boasting that thanks to God he would have perfect weather when he was on his flight.
Or maybe the rain was God warning you not to do it?
And despite some
Maybe
trying to
that.
convince him to push things back, he knew that the crowd was there for him, and this was his chance to secure funding for his dream project.
Com essa quantidade de balões, o padre deve viajar a cerca de 5.000 metros de altitude. Com ele lá em cima, vão estar ainda um telefone celular por satélite, GPS.
Chegando a Dourados, no Mato Grosso do Sul. O tempo estava fechado, mas o padre insistiu em voar.
Era 1 da tarde quando ele subiu, levado por 1.000 balões de gás coloridos. Pretendia bater o recorde.
And with that, he was off, soaring quickly into the sky where he eventually disappeared into those thick rain clouds. For essentially all of his flight, those clouds made it practically impossible to see.
Nobody tried to
which was
stop
further
him.
exasperated by the fact that this time he had used 1,000 balloons, as opposed to 600, which brought him to an even higher elevation, this time touching almost 20,000 feet. But just because he was out of sight, that didn't mean that we couldn't hear from him, as he would soon call down to a local news station to share a somewhat concerning update.
I need to get in contact with the staff so they can teach me how to operate this GPS. You don't know how to work the GPS?
Despite dedicating countless hours of training before the flight, there was
Bro.
one thing that Adelier had failed to prepare for:
Bro.
the GPS, as he was never shown how the device actually worked, and he only realized that he had no idea how to operate it
Are
once he
you
was already at his peak altitude,
Are you
meaning
freaking
that he was
kidding me?
essentially flying blind. The course he had set out on was set to see him travel 400 miles inland to a city named Dourados, and by his prior calculations, the wind should have still been taking him at the very least in that direction, which for a moment gave him a sense of calm, as he trusted the preparation even if he didn't know his exact
That
coordinates.
is just beyond
But after a
stupid.
few hours, as the moon began to rise, so too did the panic within Adelier, as he caught a glimpse of a strange sight on the horizon: the ocean.
You didn't learn how to use the thing that's going to tell you where you're
Somehow,
going?
the wind had done a complete 180 and had blown him in the exact opposite direction that he had prepared for. And before he knew it, he was flying directly over the sea, with no way of stopping himself or even slowing himself down, as he was now flying alone into pitch blackness. Adelier called his team and requested they send
So
rescue,
dumb.
but there was no way to give his exact location. And by this point, he was already nearly 40 miles out to sea. After being just 8 hours into his 20-hour flight, the ground team would lose contact with Adelier after receiving a message from him begging for his rescue, and he would never be heard from again.
Wow.
Up, and away.
And once again,
trying
I
to
can't
break
feel
record
bad.
For most hours flying with helium-filled party balloons, vanishes into thin air.
The subsequent search for Adelier was
You
broadcast
chose to go in the
all
air
across the world,
and not know how to
media
use the
dubbing him as the
GPS.
balloon priest. And after nearly 9
Yeah,
days
and
of
I'm
searching,
supposed to feel
the only sign
bad.
of the man was his balloons. They were found detached and floating in the ocean, with there being no sign of the priest whatsoever, leaving his fate as a total mystery.
Oh, I'm sure a
At
few
least at the
sharks
time.
had a feast.
On July 4th, 2008, a tugboat sailing off the coast of Mackay near an offshore oil rig would spot something floating in the water, and upon closer inspection, it would be identified as a body. Or at least part of one, given all that remained was the subject's lower half. and upon DNA testing, it was confirmed that it did in fact belong to Atelier Antonio de Carli, who likely crashed into the water and drowned, only to be picked away at by various predators of the ocean, thus ending the balloon priest's saga in a tragic, yet for many, unsurprising manner.
I'm one of those people that's very unsurprising. Tragic, but
Night is
come
the
on
most
now.
dangerous time for pedestrians along streets and highways. To be on the safe side, walk facing traffic and wear light-colored clothing for quicker recognition by
What to
approaching
do when
drivers.
stranded on the road?
Now, once you get into a car with somebody, you're at their mercy.
If your car should become disabled, the rule of thumb is stay inside. There are signs you can get to put on the back window to summon for help.
It was the waning days of 1986. News station NBC7 San Diego records and broadcasts a PSA segment about safety on the roads, and specifically what to do if your car breaks down at night. This may seem like a fairly random topic, but for residents of San Diego, fears were rising over just how safe their highways were, as just a few days prior, a 20-year-old college student named Kara Knott had gone missing, only for her car to be found pulled over onto the shoulder of a tall bridge, where underneath, police would find her body, having been strangled brutally and tossed over the side to the ground below. Understandably, residents were concerned, with many assuming that she had ran into car troubles and likely exited her vehicle to get help, only to be kidnapped and killed by a nearby motorist. And due to this, NBC7 thought the segment would be effective in educating those out there, in the hopes of avoiding another situation like Kara's, especially considering at this point, her killer was still somewhere out there. For the video, they even had a highway patrol officer come out to share his tips.
Being a female, you could be raped, robbed if you're a male, all the way to where you could be killed. Once you get in that other person's car, you're at their mercy.
As well as a man whose car had broken down when they were filming.
Do you realize how dangerous it is?
Yes, I realize. In fact, I was putting the gas in.
I don't understand how people ever like hitchhike and did stuff like that. That's
overall,
so
the segment
dangerous.
appeared relatively harmless, with the main messaging being to contact authorities and wait for their
But
assistance
I know things
rather
used to
than
be
trusting
safer, so
But still, this did little to calm
that's why people did it. But
as paranoia rippled through the community, and speculation
still a
began
wild
to run
concept.
rampant on who was responsible for Kara's death, which is when disturbing allegations began to emerge. Following this report, 24 separate women would come forward to share their bizarre encounters that they had had on that very same road in which Kara was found. The girls claim that they were pulled over by a police officer who interrogated them in their cars for upwards of 2 hours. And the questions being asked
2
during
hours?
this weren't even relevant to the alleged violations they had committed. Instead, they were more personal, sometimes even sexual, as if the man was trying to seduce them. And it got stranger from there, as when looking into that cop's work record,
like a
it was
rogue
discovered
cop.
that he was on patrol the night in which Kara had gone missing, and he just so happened to be working that very same stretch of highway. And making things even more concerning was the fact that underneath Kara's fingernails were traces of what appeared to be fabric that matched the material used to make police uniforms. And hidden in the officer's trunk was heavy rope, with it eventually being revealed that Kara
So
had a rope
the
box
call is
wrapped
coming from
around,
inside the
implying
house.
that that's how she was killed. But what does make these accounts so important and so relevant to the topic at hand was the fact that the officer being named by every single one of these women was a man named Craig Allen Pyre.
Spotting pedestrians at night is difficult, particularly.
And once you get into a car with somebody, you're at their mercy.
Because if you do decide to walk, the CHP says you never know who you may meet along the road.
Anything can happen.
It's the same cop from the video.
Was shown in the local news report.
Oh my God!
It would eventually be revealed that on December 27th, 1986,
What?
Craig Allen Pyre pulled over Kara Knott, flirted with her, raped her, strangled her, and then threw her body off.
And then had the nerve to
only
do
2
the
days
video.
later appear on this PSA
You piece
to
of
try and
crap.
teach the public how to avoid being kidnapped and killed alongside of the highway.
All the way to where you could be killed. Once you get
By
in
you.
a person's car, you're at their mercy.
If strangers should offer assistance,
That
tell
is
them
wild.
through the CHP.
Just stay in the vehicle, lock all the doors, turn.
You gonna kill all these girls and then give a PSA on how to avoid it when you're doing it?
It's so incredibly haunting to watch this segment back, especially considering what he's saying, knowing that
That's
he was
crazy.
quite literally
That's
the cause of
crazy.
the crime that inspired the segment to begin with.
Wow.
Just 2 weeks after the program aired, Officer Craig Pyre would be arrested for the murder of Kara Knott, where he was eventually sentenced 25 years to life in prison.
That's insane. You got the nerve to bring your ass up on camera, knowing that you're the one doing it.
One of the most famous natural spectacles in the world.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Man on the edge.
Considered one of the most visually stunning locations in
But
the
I guess he did that
even
to
across
throw the
world.
cops
The
off,
three
to
waterfalls
throw
that
people
make up
off his
Niagara
trail.
Falls offer a unique blend of
But
beauty and violence,
how
making
evil.
it no wonder why tens of thousands of people visit the area every day just to take in the awe-inspiring views and that unbelievable rush of water. But on March 20th, 2003, as a typical crowd gathered to take their photos, their attention was captured by something far different than the scenery. Something that couldn't have been
Niagara
possible.
Falls.
It looked like a man in the water. Though he wasn't being swept over and he wasn't moving at all, he was just standing there, at the very edge of the falls, staring off into oblivion. Police were immediately called to the scene as a panic arose, and within minutes, rescue crews would begin their work, along with a cameraman from a local news station.
Oh, he was like on the edge. How is he standing up? How is he standing up?
The footage shows what should have been an impossible scenario, as an unnamed 48-year-old man was standing at the edge of the most powerful waterfall on the planet,
Right,
somehow
it's like
staying
tons
balanced
of
and
water
remaining
coming
cool
at you.
and
How are you
despite being
standing?
just 1 foot away from dropping over 180 feet to certain death. Unsure of how the man had ended up in the water, or how it was even possible for him to stay upright, rescue workers sprang into action with 2 men, Pop Moriarty and Gary Carella, sliding into the water and attempting to walk towards him. But even for them, the current
I'm not
was
sliding
just
in
too
nothing.
much,
He can come
forcing
to
them
me.
almost immediately turn back,
No.
while the man yelled to them that he was losing his strength and to not let him go over.
Oh, now you want to
To aid in
change
the
your
rescue,
mind?
a helicopter was sent in to try and airlift the man up, but immediately the force of the rotors began to create strong gusts of wind, leading to this.
Oh. Did he fall over? Oh.
Now the man lay there, feet dangling over the edge of the falls,
Oh my
as the freezing
God.
cold water pelted him relentlessly. By this point, that man had already been in the water for over 1 hour, and his grip was slowly slipping. And so, in a last-ditch prayer, a rescue worker inside the helicopter
He causing
decided
all
to
this
toss a
chaos
light
and
missile,
drama.
knowing that this would likely be their final shot at saving him. And miraculously, the current caught it and brought it directly to him. With every bit of strength he had left, the man would let go of the rock he was clinging to and lunge towards the preserver, grabbing a hold of it as crews on shore began to pull him to safety. Or at least, they thought. As he was being towed to shore, the man approached what looked to be land, though in actuality this was an ice shelf that extended out over the water, meaning that the black line you see here isn't actually land, but instead a small opening between the sheet of ice and the water itself. And within that small opening, the rapids were raging at tenfold due to the increased pressure of the small size. And so, while the man was being pulled towards rescue workers, he was almost immediately sucked underneath, pinning him in an immovable situation. Moriarty and Carella knew that they had to engage once again, or else the man was certainly going to drown.
Why did you do
with
this?
testimony later
Why?
on showing just how dire the situation had become.
You putting all these people through all of
Let
this.
me go. He just gave up. He said, "Save yourselves. Let me go. Let me go."
But the rescue crews had come too far to just give up. And despite the pressure of the water becoming almost too much to bear, Carella slipped a harness around the man and gave the signal for the group to be lifted up.
Any one of these people could have died because of you being stupid.
Somehow, they had all done the impossible, and with the victim now on solid ground, he was taken to a nearby hospital where, despite suffering from severe hypothermia, he would go on to survive, making it one of the most incredible rescues ever shown on television. But with the victim now safe, it was time to figure out what exactly had happened. Well, apparently, the man had lost all of his money due to a crippling gambling addiction, even gambling away the last of his family's own cash, losing everything.
So you were trying to end it all.
And he entered the water that day, hoping to make it his last. But as he drifted towards the edge, he suddenly had a change of heart and decided to fight for survival. And somehow, when trying to stop himself, his foot became lodged in between two rocks, which also aided in shielding him from the rushing current, allowing him not only to stay there, but to stand upright. It's unknown what happened to the man from here, as he's understandably never been named publicly, but I do hope he managed to find some peace and purpose, as his story is one of very few of this nature with a happy ending, especially within Niagara Falls, as the area has become a hotspot for attempts just like this, the vast majority of which sadly end successfully. And as it turns out, one such example of this was captured when the cameras happened to be rolling.
So somebody else?
Fraser that recorded the man's actions as he was taping a special program with Phil Kavitz. It is Phil's voice you will hear on the tape.
Factories, hotels, and other buildings line the river.
As TV host Phil Kavitz is recording a program for the local nightly news in Buffalo, New York, he did so near the mouth of Niagara Falls, where the rapids are raging in a particularly fearsome manner. When suddenly...
Buildings line the river. Then Frederick Olmsted started a campaign to persuade...
Oh, right there.
We see a man come running from the brush and leap directly into the water. For obvious reasons, I can't show what happens next, as the water begins to sweep the man towards the edge of the falls. But the audio alone is sufficient in showing just how traumatic the moment was for the news crews watching on.
Factories, hotels, and other buildings line the river. Then Frederick Olmsted started a campaign to persuade New York to buy the land.
Oh my God!
Holy sh**. Oh my God!
No.
Oh!
So
As they watched in horror, the man was dragged to the edge and then swept directly off, going over head first, and standing no chance of survival. According to the report, the man was never identified, and his body was never found, likely having been pinned by the impossible force of the water.
How would they get it?
But what I find most chilling about this video is the fact that it's only seemingly been archived in this poor quality, which makes deciphering details about it incredibly difficult. However, there were many who watched the program on TV the day after, as the news station actually aired this footage for the world to see, and one particular account has haunted me since the moment I first read it. I remember seeing this when it was first broadcast, freaked me the hell out. It wasn't a worn out videotape back then, and the image was a lot cleaner. The guy looked at the news crew and into the camera when they started yelling, creepy and sad as hell. Despite being known for its beauty, there is a dark side to this amazing location, and one that has become, and likely will remain, no stranger to the world of television.
I think that's it. Okay, yeah, that's it. Wow, yeah, some devastating stories, I mean, as usual for Nick Crowley. Yeah, Niagara Falls, it seems like a beautiful place. I think it's like up towards Canada, so yeah, it seems like a beautiful place. Very wild though. I mean, you have to be very careful because as you can see, it is very easy to lose your life messing around with something that fierce and violent. Yeah, so I mean, luckily the first guy got saved, but it seems like Niagara Falls, there's a lot of skeletons, you know, down deep in those waters that nobody can really navigate. I mean, I know they have like boat rides and stuff, but it's very safe, and you know, you can't get to those people, so their bodies are just down there, you know, wasting away, or I don't know. It's very creepy to know that there are people down there, bodies and stuff. I think it's the same thing with the Grand Canyon and Mount Everest. There's lots of people who don't make it out of those places, so yeah, very, very creepy when you hear stuff like that. But yeah, that one with the cop really just took me out. I mean, the fact that you were doing a PSA video and you were the one that was committing the crimes that inspired the PSA. That's so damn bold, like, and knowing the whole time that you did it. But like I said, I feel like, of course, he did it to, you know, he wanted to hide in plain sight. Like, you put yourself out there so that way nobody suspects you. That's pretty much what he did. But it's still wild to think that, you know, you're getting taught a lesson by somebody who was creating the problem. So that was crazy. The guy with the balloons, just another example, as all the videos so far have had at least one example of people doing things that they don't have to do and ending up losing their life or changing their life forever. And it's like, I try to feel bad. I mean, you don't want them to die, but still, they're the ones creating the possibility of it happening. And in this case, he did. And he drowned in the water and then got ate up by different sea creatures. A sad ending for a guy who was, you know, trying to inspire people. But still, you could have found other ways to do it where you didn't risk your own life. So, I don't know. I can't feel too bad, but still, rest in peace to him. But anyway, guys, another great Nick Crowley video, as usual. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, be blessed, be your best, and keep down the stairs. Bye, guys.